Welcome in, everyone. Today, we're going to be starting up a brand new series. And from the title and thumbnail of this video, you might already kind of know what this particular challenge is going to be about. Now, if you guys have been here before on this channel, you know that we've done WoW token challenges. We've done it both over a day, we've done it over weeks, and we've done general like 0 to 1 million gold kind of challenges, but this one is a brand new idea. And in the struggle bus of trying to find content to do when we're waiting on midnight to roll around and player housing to roll around, I noticed a little bit of a series here. Now, this name, Pathalerix, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, he has started a new show that he calls Goldbound. I don't want to call it the same thing, but this is heavily inspired by that. And in this series, he says, I can't leave Elwyn until I earn a WoW token. Now, we're doing the exact same thing, but instead of Elwyn, we're doing Durotar. And you can obviously see we're in a lovely orc here called Sand Peon. Again, huge shout out because it's a really fun idea and I haven't really done any kind of gold challenge like this in years. So I'm very excited to get started on this. And we're actually going to be using the same exact rules that he has used for his challenge because I think they're very fun. If we make any slight adjustments throughout the challenge, then that it is what it is. But the gist of it goes as follows. We have to make enough for a WoW token, and if you guys have watched the series over on Pathalerix's channel, you will know that that is on NA, because on European servers at the time of recording this video, this is 360k. So the amount of gold that we actually have to make is considerably higher over here, but the markets are also very different, so no big deal. I say fully knowing that that's a huge deal and it's going to be absolutely ridiculous trying to figure this out, but it's fine, don't worry about it. We're gonna get to it. The other rule is that I can only get items for myself, for my character, from collecting, right? So this means doing quests, this means dropped items in the zone, and that's pretty much it. I can't purchase it off of people, I can't send it over from other characters, I can't do any of that. And then the other kicker, which is another rule, is I can only sell items directly to vendors or on the auction house. So I can't do weird trades with people and get my gold that way. I can't trade items around. It has to be selling items on, on the auction house or straight to a vendor. And that's all that we can do. The only other thing besides Durotar is that we want to be able to go into Orgrimmar, and I want to open up for that possibility because you do have other options if you have, some mounts, but not everybody has access to a Brutosaur or a Gilded Brutosaur. So we are going to open up like he did in the series, Pathalerix. He opened up Stormwind, which means we're going to do the same thing, but just for Orgrimmar. So the only purpose of walking in here is the auction house and the bank. We're not going to do anything else because, as you know, there is a dungeon here, and that opens up for even more gold farming opportunities. So we're not going to do any of that. We're only going to go into Orgrimmar to be able to use the auction house and to do any potential banking. And then, obviously, we can't leave the zone until we have paid for a WoW token. Now, whether or not we're going to do any other zones, well, I'd say it heavily depends on how long this takes. But I hope you guys are going to enjoy this video, and we're actually just going to get started here. Now, I want to talk a little bit about my plan for this because any of the regular viewers on this channel will know that when it comes to gold making, and especially these old zones, this will take forever, okay? The amount of hours that this is going to take is going to be very interesting, and it also kind of depends a little bit on how lucky we get on certain items and certain things that we're going to be able to, purchase or well, not purchase, but sell, but what we can get from, you know, random drops around in this zone. Now, I don't actually know all of the different farming locations for a bunch of different items here, so I'm sure that there's a bunch of stuff that I'll eventually miss, but the first thing that I plan on doing is I want to level a little bit so we can start pretty much killing everything in the zone. And then once we've gotten that done, we're obviously going to be picking up some professions. To get started, because we actually have 0 gold, currently we have 0 copper. To get started, we're going to be picking up gathering professions. We have no other choice, so that is going to be the first thing that we do. But I'm going to get started, I'm going to do some quests, and I'm also going to pick up some professions, and we'll be cutting right over to those things. As we're walking around here, something that I actually also want to talk about is a little bit about the add-ons that we're going to be using. We're not going to be using a whole bunch of stuff to make this super easy for ourselves, but we will be using something like TSM because it'll give us access to some pricing data, and we'll be able to also track some of our sales a little bit easier. So that is one thing that we're going to have. The other thing that we're going to bring ourselves into is going to be handy notes. And the reason why we're using handy notes just as a general thing is because it'll show us certain locations of certain rares which we could easily find otherwise. So I think that that's a completely fine thing to do as well, because then we have an idea of certain items that we might be able to go for and potentially sell in the auction house. So that is another add-on. The only other thing that I feel like is realistic to have for something like this is a vendoring add-on. Now, whichever one that you want to go for is completely up to you. The one that I am currently going to use is called Peddler, and it's very simple. All it does is you can use control, and then you can right click an item in your inventory, and then it'll mark it with a little stack of coins, and then as soon as you open up a vendor, it will actually sell that item. It's very convenient and very nice, so that's kind of why we're picking those in particular. But those are about the add-ons that at least I want to use. If you want to use any other add-ons to make your life a little bit easier, that's completely okay. Something I was also considering is using some sort of a gathering add-on so we can at least track certain routes or certain locations of herbs and potentially ore. Again, that is up to you and how hard you want to make it for yourself. As a bonus to this series, every single episode is going to have a 2 months of WoW game time giveaway, and the way that you can join is you're gonna like the video as a number 1, and then number 2, type a comment down below about something that you're currently enjoying in WoW. Now, that could be absolutely anything in any version of the game, but you could also potentially just talk about your own plans for a challenge like this, or something that you've done similarly in the past. I'd love to talk about it. And then I'll be drawing a winner on the next episode of this challenge, and we're going to do that on every single episode. We've actually made our first stop here, which is going to be the herbalism trainer. We're going to be picking up herbalism as our first profession. This is going to be quite wonderful. I'm going to keep it down there just because, and then we're going to continue on picking up a bunch of quests. The first stop here is in Senjin Village, and as you can see, we've already seen a couple of herbs, which is quite wonderful, and it also gives us a good amount of experience, which is awesome. Now, I did also notice or think about the fact that fishing exists. I don't know exactly how much fishing we're going to be doing, but I do know that there's a couple of interesting items that we can get from fishing, in particular in Durotar. So we're going to pick it up just in case that we want to do something real fancy, and we're going to be using our precious copper and learning the rest, even though we don't need to. And we're going to be picking up a fishing pole. Now, it's only 1 copper, so it's no big deal, but it is an inventory slot. And something that I also want to mention, which I kind of forgot to talk about under the rules, I will not be using any like vendoring mounts or auction house mounts. This will all purely be done by running back and forth to the locations that have vendors or have auction houses, because we want to keep the challenge a challenge, because if we just take a bunch of easy steps, we might as well just leave the zone, right? What's the point of having a challenge if it's not challenging? Again, no vendoring mounts and no auction house mounts. That is a big no-no for this challenge. Now, another thing that I also want to say is that at the end of every episode, I will be going over how much my / playtime is, so you guys can see how many hours I've spent doing a bunch of stuff. Now, I'm going to try to keep it as low as possible on the AFK timer, so it can be as accurate as possible in terms of how much time we're spending actually farming or making gold or doing whatever it is that we're doing. So that's going to be great. And then we can also, from that, kind of get ourselves a little bit of a gold per hour. I will say here early on when we're doing a bunch of questing and actually just getting the character ready to go, it'll be a little bit offset by that, right? Once we get things cooking and we start collecting a bunch of stuff that we can actually put on the auction house, well, that'll be a wonderful thing. Again, another big part of the challenge is the fact that we can't actually purchase anything off the auction house to better our character. And that also goes for bags, which means the bags that we're going to be able to get is either dropped from mobs in the zone or bought off of vendors that we can find here in Durotar. So that's going to be a big kicker as well, because we have to walk back and forth every time our bags are full and actually make sure that we can, you know, carry around the things that are interesting, but also don't spend, well, not spend too much time you know, running back and forth for very small amounts of gold. Again, that's going to be very fun, very interesting to figure out how to do that in the best way. What we will be doing though is we will be using mounts once we unlock those. That is completely reasonable to do in this challenge. So I'm going to continue along here, and I will be picking up mining real soon as well. I just want to get a couple more levels, a couple more quests done, so we can continue onwards in the zone. Something that is important to keep in mind is that all of these mobs will actually scale alongside our level, all the way up to 30, I'm pretty sure. And then we can also use something like party syncing to turn that around, but we are not going to worry too much about that until we actually get to level 30. We made our first real detour, and I decided to send it all the way to Razor Hill. On Razor Hill, we have this little NPC here called Runda, and this is where we're going to be picking up mining. This is going to be our second profession. I might swap mining or herbalism out for skinning at some point, in case we end up figuring out that that's more worth it. But we're going to start out with these two in particular. So now that we've picked these up, I'm still planning on doing a bunch of these quests, because it's going to bring us into all of the different areas of the zone. And it also lets us, you know, get a little bit of gold started here, and it also brings our level up a little bit, which also gives us more opportunities for a little bit better gear and things that will speed up the process a considerable amount. But I will be starting to, as you can see right here on our mini-map, I will be starting out the collecting of ore and herbs. To make our lives a little bit easier, we're going to be using some of our gold that we've collected already to make our bags a little bit bigger. Now, H-slot bags, I think, are some of the biggest ones that we can actually obtain in Durotar, so we're going to be going ahead and buying 4 of these. This does give us a considerable amount more space, which is quite wonderful because we absolutely need it. Now, one other thing is that we can also purchase something like weapons off of vendors. Using a silver and 27 copper on a bow that does a little bit more damage. Why not? That's also probably about it. But I will say, something that is interesting about these vendors is that they sell things that we can sell on the auction house. Now, if you're looking at something like red ribboned wrapping paper, this is purchased for 48 copper. Now, on the auction house, it says that the minimum buyout for this is 2 gold and 34 silver. The region average daily sold is only 4.4, which is not a lot, right? It's a very small amount. But there could be other items where, if you include the auction house cut, where it could actually be interesting to take some of them and put them on the auction house for a chance to make a considerable amount of gold just flipping the item. Now, we haven't found anything like that or anything particularly interesting just yet, but if you look at something like, you know, a mining pick or an herbalist spade and things like this, this will be interesting for what we're doing. I'm actually, as a matter of fact, I will be picking up a mining pick and an herbalist spade just because it makes our skill a little bit higher. But if I find anything interesting that I deem worthy of potentially putting on the auction house, I will be, of course, telling you guys about it. We've made it to Ugromar. We actually took the flight path here, which is a wonderful thing. And the first thing that we're going to do is that we're going to go down and we are going to put our Hearthstone as Ugromar. This is going to make it considerably easier to move back and forth in between things, which is going to be awesome. And we're also going to take a little bit of a look at the auction house, because we do have a couple of things and we might as well post them on the auction house. And I'll talk a little bit about my plans for how we're going to try and sell these things. We did also have a little bit of a quest here, so we're going to go ahead and turn that in. Boom. And then we move on. We're not going to do any other quests than that quick intro thing, because we don't want to run around and do a bunch of quests that don't really make too much sense to do for us for this challenge. But here we are. So we have a little bit of a tiger's eye here. We're going to go ahead and post that. It's a 1 silver deposit cost, which is almost nothing. Then we have a pair of pants here, worn leather pants. They don't look that, you know, interesting, but a lot of people collect all this old stuff for, you know, collection purposes. So if there's anyone that might want this, it has a 0.015 region sell rate, and if you guys don't know what that means, this will be incredibly hard to sell. Like, you don't really need to go down into the math. If anything is under 1 as a 1 region sell rate, it'll take a lot of posts before it actually sells. But it is only a 1 silver post, right? So you could post this 54 times and you'd still be able to make 1,881. And if you do get lucky to be one of the people that actually sell one of these items, then that's awesome. And from our perspective, we need all the gold that we can get. So I'm completely okay with taking a chance like this, just to make sure that we can potentially earn some gold out of some random RNG. But again, generally with an item like this, you just have to decide whether or not you think it's worth it to post this item 20 times, 50 times, 100 times, 200 times before it sells. It's completely up to you. We're going to go ahead and do that. We have a couple of other items as well that have similarly low sell rates. I don't think I'm actually going to post that one, but we will be posting this one. And then we have some cup ore. Now, we can actually make this into bars. Generally, what I recommend is taking a look at, okay, well, the price of cup ore at the moment is 4 gold and 30 silver. And then you have the bar. It's about 5 gold. So if I go ahead and craft, you know, 47 of these, I'll be able to make a little bit more gold. And, you know, we'll take the gold that we can get, so why not? And then we also have this. Right now we can vendor this for a total of 78 copper, but if we sell all of these, we'll be able to make, minus the auction house cut, 8 gold and 58 silver. That sells, gonna be awesome. So we actually have a little bit of a thing here. We have some linen cloth, and if we post this, let's see here, we have 15 pieces, and if we post that, we'll be able to get 15 silver, which is not a lot, but it's more than vendoring it for 1 silver and 95 copper. Here's the thing though, this will probably sell after 1 post, but this is not worth posting too many times because it is 1 silver every time you post it. And then the same thing goes for this. This is awesome. We'll take a couple of gold there. Then we have a recipe here, an old one for a swiftness potion for classic alchemy. Go ahead and post this, not too crazy. And then we have a couple more gray items. I'm just going to go ahead and post these because you might get lucky every once in a while that somebody's collecting some old gray items. Now, we do have something called a primal boot here. Now, this is one of, you know, a bunch of old gray sets that people have actually been interested in getting just for a variety of reasons. The market value being 30k and the regional market value being 35k is a little bit ridiculous, but you can see that the region sell rate average is 1900 gold. So other people have sold it for about 1900. So I'm actually going to go ahead and post it for about that price since we currently don't have any. I could be greedy and set it higher, but we're not going to be too worried about that because the sell rate is it's very, very low. So I'm not going to be too greedy about the price there. And we have some herbs here, some earth roots. We'll be posting that. Some peace bloom. We'll post this here as well. And we have some silver leaf. We'll go ahead and post that as well. And then we'll go over and craft a little bit of the copper ore. Now, obviously, our next plan is going out and actually really getting into it when it comes to gathering, right? I will be going out and I'll be gathering a bunch of ore and a bunch of herbs, and then I'll be killing mobs along the way. Now, for the first episode here, I don't know how long we're gonna go for, but we'll see. Because I don't want to do, you know, a crazy amount of time, because the jumps in between the episodes have to be significant, but they don't have to be so significant that we're jumping over it in, you know, like say 50 hours per episode or something like that. Nothing crazy like that, because we do have to take it in bites to make it a little easier to understand, and also so I can just show you guys in bites what we're actually doing and what we're farming and what we get. I want to be able to show you guys all of that as well. Okay, we're done with our copper bar smelting here. We're going to go ahead and post those on the auction house. You can actually see that I have some in my war bank, which is across my account, but we're not going to be too worried about that. We'll go ahead and post those right on the auction house. And I actually heard a couple of dings. And you can see we've already sold a couple of things here. We've sold our peace blooms, we've sold our silver leaf, and we've also sold our linen cloth and a tiger's eye, which is wonderful. We will absolutely take that. We need all the gold that we can get. The main objective right now is gonna be level 20. The reason why is because we get access to flying mounts at level 20. Which is going to be, well, I don't want to say exponentially, but it will increase the speed that we can actually farm a whole lot of stuff in this zone. And we will, of course, be using that to our advantage. And it's completely fair because we can actually get it in the zone. If we had to move to some other zone, I wouldn't really think it's completely fair. But because we actually get access to it from just being in Durotar, I think it's fair to do. So that's on the current agenda. We're going to be doing a bunch of quests and running around all over the place while we pick up lovely ore and lovely herbs. And everything is going to be awesome. We are back in Orgrimmar, and we are here for one reason. We want to look at the mailbox for how far we are currently. And I'll also go over a couple of the things that we currently have posted on the auction house. We have reached a goal today of level 20. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I actually want to get above level 30. Because something that will happen is that I would assume, without any funny business with party syncing, the highest level that we can probably get to without considering very small amounts of experience from gathering and collecting, we could probably get to like 35. But around that time, we're going to be able to start killing mobs a lot faster. And that opens up for a lot of different opportunities for farming certain materials that we can actually also sell in the auction house. I'll talk about a little bit about those here in a second. The other thing that I also want to get in over is that we are going to get access to flying eventually here when we get to level 30. So that is going to be a huge increase to the actual speed of everything that we do in this game, especially if we think about gathering. Now, I have a couple of ideas how we're going to speed up the amount of gold that we can actually make. We are going to be collecting a whole bunch of stuff with herbalism and with mining, but something that's really important to think about is that we're actually not going to be leveling this all the way up to 300 because we can't. And that same thing and the same exact thing goes for herbalism. And that's because we can't actually venture into any of the other zones, so we won't be able to get any of the materials that actually bring the level up. So deleting a profession and picking up something else opens up the opportunity for us to flip around some materials. We'll probably be using some inscription, some engineering, and blacksmithing for that, but that is all going to be in episode 2 when we really start getting into it. But as an overall goal, I want to get to around level 30 so we can get flying, and that's when we can really kick off gathering. And also around that time we can get better gear from quests and drops and whatnot, and our character will get stronger, which is really important. But let's go over what we have in the mailbox so far. You can see here that we actually have 733 gold, which is, you know, not a lot. It's not a lot. We haven't done too much farming just yet. This is just, you know, a lot of these are just materials. Pretty much all of it are materials that we have collected along the ways of creating quests, but we'll take what we can get. And I did look into some of the math around the gold per hour when we can actually start flying around and farming, and trust me, this is gonna take a while, but that's okay. It's a part of the fun, if some people call it that. But anyway, we have a couple of things here posted on the auction house. Now, we did pick up a lot of these grays and white items. Some of them don't have the best sell rate so far, but the way that I'm thinking about it is some of the ones that have lower sell rates, we're only going to post one version of them, because posting multiple versions, we're just going to start, you know, filling the auction house up with a bunch of stuff that we don't really need to fill up. And since they won't be selling that quickly, we don't really need to have multiple versions of it either. So that's the case when it comes to a lot of the grays and some of the white items as well. We did get one green, not any particularly fun ones. So that's about that. Nothing of too crazy value just yet. And then we obviously have some more materials here that we've collected on the later parts of what you've seen in the mailbox. Now, one particularly interesting here is these boar ribs. Right now we can't actually kill the boars that fast because they all scale with our levels, but this is one of the items that I was thinking about being able to farm at a pretty consistent speed. And if that, you know, has the opportunity to challenge how much we can get out of some of these herbs and ores, then we'll be checking that out as well. But I have a couple ideas in mind, and I'm sure they will do absolutely amazing because trust me, we need that gold, and it's gonna take a while. It will take a while, but I also want to show you guys the slash played. So far, we have 3 hours and 20 minutes, and it's not too bad. We've made it to level 20, and considering we haven't really gotten many upgrades, we actually only have 2 greens on our bodies at the moment. And then we're up to 811 gold. I am seriously hoping by the time that we get through episode 2 that this number is considerably higher, because the amount of hours that we would have to spend on a gold per hour that we have right now is atrocious. But don't worry about that. It's gonna be great. I hope you guys have enjoyed the first episode of this series, and whether you're going to do this to yourself or you're just going to watch me well, air quote, have fun while we wait for midnight to roll around, I appreciate it either way. Again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like for it down in the comments below, and also make sure that you check out Goldcapped. Goldcapped is a website full of wonderful guides for gold making in pretty much all versions of World of Warcraft. There's also a Discord that's a part of Goldcapped, which you get access to as a part of your subscription on the website. Again, you can use a Sansiful as your code for 10% off. Also, if you click the link that I have in the description down below, you'll actually be able to just use that as the link straight up. I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have about gold making, and not only on this video, but also make sure that you check out other videos on the channel, because I'll be making more and more videos towards, you know, when midnight rolls around. But anyway, we're done with all of that. I appreciate you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next episode.